What's going on? What's going on? We are live. We are live. Hope everybody's having a fantastic Sunday evening. Codations can now see himself on screen so he can see how his stuff looks. I'm assuming he'll figure out if it looks good or not.
It's all right. It looks good. It's not bad. It's not terrible.
It's not bad.
I do see the redness, the pinkness that I got going on. I don't know if that is just due to Zoom or what, because my camera, I don't feel like it looks like that when I record videos on OBS.
It could be Zoom. We might have to test out, using something else like OBS or something, or even, another suggestion might be that would be probably higher quality than like Zoom or whatchamacallit, would be for you to actually set up like maybe a secondary hidden channel that you actually stream to like Twitch, and I pull it from that video and add you in where that's like an HD, you know what I'm saying? Like you're actually, because then you're streaming the full bit rate to the site and I'm pulling from that instead of you streaming to Zoom and then them compressing it and all that shit. FS Squad says, Tooth, no. Hello, I subscribe. Hello, FS Squad. How are you doing tonight, my friend? Welcome to the podcast. I don't know. That might be an option though, Codations. Just saying.
Yeah, definitely not.
And you also see your whole right arm thing I was talking about? Like when you raise it, you can actually see your room back behind you. Like
I mean, I don't see. I'm raising. Well, I'm watching the stream in the delay. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Because the board don't come all the way down. So.
Yeah.
Which it's not a big deal. I mean, we're it's slowly getting better. We now have one background that is shared between everything.
Exactly.
So that looks good.
We're making progress.
I do feel though like I need to center up this line between us, the big line. Hold on. Let me do that. Boom. The background, that way it's more centered in the middle with the chat and everything, and just kind of.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, no worries.
I think that.
Yeah, dude. Dude, it's almost there, dude. When I get that mirrorless camera, baby, it's gonna be legit.
Yeah, like I said, we probably will still need to figure out some kind of way to stream your video over to me for me to then grab, because it definitely seems like Zoom's doing a lot of compression work. I mean, because even all of your whole room, your walls and everything have like a pink tint to them. So, and if it doesn't look like that on your screen, it must be because of
yeah, it doesn't look like that on my screen.
Princess says, Codations, you're so pink. I might be able to fix it though. Don't mess with none. Let me see if I add a color correction in, if I can fix it.
Okay.
Use shift. Hold on.
Listen, I need you to fix it. I need you to fix me.
Wait.
Hello, Princess. Thank you for tuning into the live stream as always.
Dude, Princess says, Codations, you're so pink. What's up, Princess? How you doing?
Dude, Princess dropped. What if I do this? What if I do this? Take this.
Princess says that looks good. Whoa, what do you? Oh, actually, wait. Maybe leave right there. Whatever you just. No. Now your eyes look bloodshot. You look like a vampire, dude. Wait, whatever you had before was good. Turn the light back on. I feel like.
Well, what I did was I turned my auto adjustment
Demon
off
is back.
So I can turn. I wish I could see this live. I mean, I'm watching it, but it's like latency, so I'm just waiting for it to kick back up here a little bit. How's that brightness look?
Good, I think. I don't know. Good enough, I think. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I mean, I might be able to. Let's see. I just don't know how to do the color grading too well in the. Wait, I think I just fixed it. I think that's better. Don't just nothing, Codation. I think I fixed it.
I think it looks a little bit better. I mean, this is probably about as good as it's going to get with
this
stupid webcam.
Yeah, don't change nothing else. I can brighten Codations up a bit. I can do the brightening up a bit. I don't know. There we go. I think that's the best of what we got right now. Brenda says, hi. Hey, Brenda. Brenda says, I think that looks better. Yeah, I think that's the best we're going to get. Codations has while he's doing his creepy faces, Codations has a new camera coming that he's super pumped for, a Canon M200 like I use. So he's hoping that'll boost his quality quite a bit.
Dude, I am super pumped about this thing, man. I'm like, oh man, dude, I can't even imagine what it's going to take my video quality and just my video recordings, but also the podcast, dude. Can you imagine if I can get it to look as good as yours?
I
Like
mean, there's
we would
not
literally
really
be
reason
sitting, we would
you
literally
shouldn't be
be
able to.
sitting next to each other.
There's no reason you shouldn't be. Princess's
Well, the
creation
only
looks
difference would
cleaner,
be
like his outline. That's because I'm actually green screening him this time instead of Zoom, Princess.
well, and I'm also using a green screen board,
Right. He has a green screen board behind him.
a makeshift,
And then, so to
arty
me,
craft
he's like,
board.
when I see him in front of me, he has this giant like board behind him. But then when I pull him in, I'm green screening out his board in my OBS. So it's like I said, we're learning, we're figuring stuff each week. The quality's getting a little better. The topics, arguably, I don't know on that end, but the quality's getting better a little bit each week.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're progressing. Like I said, obviously we're got to start somewhere, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I think I mean, and now we're using one background. I don't know if you noticed, but we actually don't have two separate backgrounds. It's just one background that we're to get completely behind us. There's no seam, is basically what I'm saying.
Dude, the green screen too this time, by the way, looks way better. Like even around my headphones and around my hat, like in between the opening is actually green screened out.
Yep. Yeah, dude. That's the power of actually using a proper software to do green screening when you have an actual green screen.
Well, I know, but I don't really have an actual green screen. I mean, I do, but like I don't. I mean, this is like a $5 green screen.
A green screen just means a green screen behind you. Dude, quality. I mean, mine that I'm using, I think costs less than $20 off Amazon for it's just a fucking sheet. Like it's literally just a green
Right.
sheet hanging behind me that was like I
So is
don't
that
even think it was $20.
so what did you do to like mount it? Do you just have it like tacked to the wall above you, or did you actually have like did you run like a curtain rod or something all the way across?
I actually ran, I mean, because this room's pretty wide, I actually ran a cable, a metal cable between the two sides of the room. And if
Okay.
you're really that interested in how I did it, because I got the eyelets that screw into the wall and I mounted them
Yep.
into the studs. And then I also used these metal hooks that you can then adjust the tightness so that I could have the metal line nice and taut. That way and then the green screens on these clips that have rings on them that are on the wire, like key rings that then have clips on them that hold
Yeah.
it up, so that I can actually slide it back and forth out of my. So when I'm done, I just slide it all the way across the room to one side, so it's out of my way completely. Princess
Okay.
says,
Very cool.
"Hot." Yeah. If
So
you're actually
how
interested,
high
I
do
have
you
a
have that
vlog
sucker?
on my YouTube channel that shows me installing it.
So how high do you have that sucker installed? Like, so do you have it to where you can walk underneath it if you had it slid all the way over with no interference?
Oh yeah. If it's high, the wire's high enough that when it's slid all the way over, I can walk, underneath the wire, and yeah.
Mm.
It's basically out of my way, so it doesn't cause any issues for me. And that was what I found worked best for me. I used to use an actual the T stands, the metal poles that go up, and then I had the two metal poles that went between, the metal pole that went between them, and it would hang on that.
Yep.
But that
But
was
then you
just
got to
so much
set
of a
that up.
pain to set it up and tear it down, because I also use my office for recording all my videos through the week and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, that was just way too much of a hassle setting it up and tearing it down all the time. And I was like, yeah, I don't really love the fact that my green screen's like kind of just always seen in the room, pushed to one side. But convenience versus, I guess, cleanliness, or like, streamline or whatever. It just kind of worked out best that way.
Right. No, I don't blame you. I mean, I haven't figured out what I want to do with mine. I don't think you've seen my room completely, but like
Well,
basically where
now
I'm
when I
sitting.
did mine, sorry, not to interrupt, but just to
No, you're
like
good.
completely, before I did mine, the ones that go on your floor that you can pull up and then just push back down and then just store
Yep.
that somewhere, those didn't exist when I did mine. Those
Oh,
are
gotcha.
those just have come out like in the last year. Like those have become a thing. When I did mine, that wasn't an option. So if I had to redo it, and maybe even at some point I will, I would just get one of the collapsible ones that it sits on the floor, you pull it up and then you push it back in, and then you can just store it wherever. That's
Yep.
100% the way I would go today if you have the money. Cause I think, you're probably talking $100 for one of those versus, 15-20 for just a sheet, basically.
Right, and that's what, yeah, and that's what Childish plays. That guy that was on YouTube. His my first collaboration with him. You know what I mean? Like that's what he had. He had one of those Elgato, and he confirmed that they
Yep.
were Elgato brand. But yeah, I mean, it just pulled straight up from the floor, and then that's like literally what he did. As soon as we were done recording, he basically dropped it back down into that roll thing, slid it over to the side, up against the wall in his office. You know what I mean? And that's literally what he did. And he does the exact same thing. And on the carpet, so how he knows where to place it. So on the carpet, he's got it taped off. You know what
Right.
I mean? So he's put like a couple pieces of tape, like on it, and then he just slides it, back over to that exact same spot, make sure it's there, so that way he doesn't have to, worry about it. Pulls the piece up, sets the pin on it, and then it just literally sits there. I mean, if in your situation though, I feel like what would be better for you, for the most easiest convenience, would be to hang that bad boy from the ceiling. So then you just collapse it, pull it down. I mean, you just pull it down when you do live streams, collapse it. It would just go all the way back up to the top. And then you'd only have, 4 inches, whatever hanging from the ceiling, on like hooks.
Well, yeah, the only issue is, in this office, my ceilings are actually slanted. They're like cathedral style. So one end's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
8.8 feet 6 inches, and the other end's like 14 feet.
Okay. So then,
So
yeah, probably
so
not
my
gonna
green
work.
screen would come down crooked like this. For instance, says I had a question for y'all, but I forgot what it is. Well, if you remember it, we're happy to answer it. But yeah, so
Yeah,
I mean,
dude.
I would still probably I mean, I even thought about I mean, because I could build like I don't know. To be honest, with how I have everything set up now, I probably would just leave. I mean, my setup's pretty much done. I probably wouldn't get a collapsible one where I'm at now. I would probably make the switch when I would move, like, because eventually my plan is that I'm making enough from this that I can get out of my home office. And
Right.
be, rent an office somewhere, have an actual office space, even if it's just, and I don't need it to be like an actual office space, but even if it's just, like like a storage building, but that I can turn into just a big studio. I don't need a bunch of rooms. I like just one very large room would work. Or,
Right.
uh, you know, building. I thought about building like a off the back of our house. We have a lot of land where I live. We have like an acre and a half or something.
Right.
I've also thought about building a garage, a bigger garage that had like that also had a loft in it. That then that whole top loft area I could basically turn into an office from home.
Yep.
Run
Yep.
power, all that shit out there. So I'm not
Yep.
sure
Kind of.
exactly where I'm going, but it kind of depends on
Kind of.
how much
Sort
this
of.
grows and all that.
Yeah, kind of sort of, yeah, kind of sort of like what my plan is. My plan is to basically do something similar to that, but actually build it in my basement. So I've got like my basement is the full size of my house, basically, just
Hmm.
like in the ground. And then we only have, I want to say, like a third of the basement actually finished. Like that's what we're currently working on right now, like with our renovations. I mean, we're doing all the work ourselves for the most part. And then I thought about with the wife, she's pretty much confirmed that I could do it. I just haven't done it yet. But building like an 8x8 room, or like an 8x4, like a little
Hmm.
studio booth. You know what I mean? Moving, and all I was going to do is just frame it with, 2x4, put up some sheetrock, put up some foam, all that stuff, have one little, 24-inch, door, to go in and out of it, and then pretty much like have my whole setup in there,
Hmm.
my computer, my, a green screen, have everything literally set up and ready to go. So then like anytime I want to record, if I'm on the podcast, whatever it is, I could just go down into the basement, and hop in the booth pretty much and just chill there. Another thing that I do like is I am kind of like a little bit of you know collector, like with some like toys and action figures and that kind of stuff. So it would be sweet, to kind of hop on that bandwagon, you know what I mean, and maybe like put a shelf or two, behind me in the back, of of my cam or something if I
Yeah, and
want.
then you could always green screen if you wanted to, or don't green screen if
Yep.
you want to. Yeah, and if
Right.
I did get
Exactly.
a large space, I would also probably do that. I would probably make out of the large space, if I leased a building or something or built that, I'd probably
Mhm.
build a like basically a small streaming room where the stream, but I need space also because of like shooting B-roll shots of products when I do those or shooting. So I need space to actually have like space set up for to like tables with products, and then I can have my sliders out so that I can get slider shots and stuff. So
Yep.
I need more than for what I do and for what I want to continue to do. I need a bit more room
Right.
than just a room that is a streaming room.
Right.
And
Right.
that's, I mean, again, I kind of have the streaming room thing down as long as I am happy continuing to do a green screen.
Right. I think she posted her question in here.
Yep. Princess says, okay, wait. So let me see if I word this correctly. Do you think the COVID pandemic is going to cause long-term physiological or mental problems in children and people who have been personally affected by it? I know it's random, but I'm just very curious about your opinion. Great question, and I'm totally down to talk about it. Before we move to that, because I think that's going to get us then going into another topic, and not that maybe very many people listening to podcasts is interested in hearing our YouTube expansion plans and streaming and stuff expansion plans, but I find it fascinating. So is there anything else? I mean, was that your thoughts? Was there anything you wanted to add before we would switch kind of topics into that?
No, I mean the only thing that I would like to say though before we dive in is I just wanted to let you know I did my another live stream last night for the very first time on the game that I'm currently playing, Skylanders Ring of Heroes.
Uh-huh.
I did that for the very first time, and then I think this is the first stream that I've done. I mean, at least in a month and a half, 2 months. Like I just haven't live streamed in a long time. I've been doing video footage.
Right.
But dude, it was freaking amazing, man. I had
Yeah?
a crazy good turnout. So I started my stream at like 9:55, like 10 o'clock last night, and then I went until 1:20 a.m.
Jeez.
So and from that point, so and by the way, Princess hopped in there. Thank you very much, Princess, for supporting me as well on that note. But from 10 o'clock until I'm going to say about 12:30, I had like 60 people in there, dude, on my live
Damn,
stream.
dude, that's awesome, man.
It was pretty ridiculous, dude.
Congrats.
I had 60 people in there. And then I believe I ended off the video with like 50 something likes. So I just kept on, plugging, like make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button. I picked up 6 subscribers. Then I believe I had 2 $5 donos. So that was pretty cool, dude.
Damn, dude.
Cool.
Yeah, that is
pumped,
dope,
dude.
dope. On a side note, dude, that is awesome. I mean, 50 fucking people watching at one time is nothing shy of amazing.
And I was on live stream, or I was on YouTube Live, by the way. I didn't do Twitch, so
yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I think to be honest, I don't know what the. Again, I guess the only reason I still stream to Twitch is just because it is still the foothold in the gaming community. But I would even argue when it comes to mobile gaming that not really anyways. I don't think Twitch has a good handle on mobile gaming. So I really don't see any downside to just streaming on YouTube nowadays. I mean, I really think unless Twitch changes a bunch of stuff, I mean, people are already more common or used to people streaming now on Facebook, on YouTube, gamers. I mean, you know, I don't know the benefits anymore to Twitch, to be honest. I still do it, I think, just because I, use Restream and stream to Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube at the same time. I mean, I like the Twitch platform. I just don't know what they offer new streamers, is all I'm saying. I'm not saying Twitch is bad. I'm not saying they don't have a lot of cool stuff. I just don't know what they offer new streamers today anymore.
Right,
at least
right
now.
And I think and I think the heart or the reason why I'm gravitating more towards YouTube Live is just because, I mean, that's where all my subscribers are. You know what I mean? Like every one of my subscribers are on YouTube, so like for me, for whatever reason, it's so much easier for me to just be like, oh, let's just go live, on YouTube, and then whoever's available will hop in, and it is what it is. I mean, I know there's a couple mobile content creators on Twitch that I do watch, like Childish Plays, the guy that I met in Omaha. So I know for a fact that he does Twitch. That's where he goes live. He doesn't do YouTube Live, even though he's got a YouTube channel. And then I know like Vulcan Games, which is streaming right now. He is live, and he's got, I think he just broke 100,000 subscribers, and he currently has 324 people watching him on Twitch. And then, I mean, there's a couple other, other ones that actually go live on Twitch versus YouTube Live. But I don't know. I kind of agree with you in the sense that I don't think a lot of, I don't know, at least for me, I don't think it really matters. But I do think that because of my subscribers are currently subscribed to me on YouTube, it makes it a little bit easier for them to hop into my stream. You know what I mean? Versus like, me, because I have a Twitch page. You mean, like, I've streamed a few times on Twitch. I mean, it's been hit or miss, and I don't have my page fully set up, with all my panels and all of my schedule and all that stuff. And I don't have a schedule, And so with that being the case, I don't know. For me personally, I stick to YouTube Live, and I'm just really, really hoping in 2021, especially after how well last night's live went. I thought about it. I thought about trying to do it at least once a week.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well,
once a week.
yeah, and I was gonna say, and I think the other thing with you is I mean, because I do think that there's a point where expanding your content outside of one platform is a good idea. Because it's kind of
Right.
like the whole theory and everything, like when it comes to finances or anything, which is like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I don't think anybody should just create content on one platform only, because if something was to happen to that platform or it was to go downhill, for example, people right now that might only be putting content out on Twitch. I mean, if Twitch does end up losing this to YouTube or Facebook, not saying they would. I mean, no one has any idea what's going to happen. But if they did,
Right.
hopefully they've moved enough of their audience to some other platform so again, I'm just all your eggs in one basket, never a good idea, is basically what I'm saying.
Never.
But
Yeah.
plus, in your case, where you don't have a stream schedule and you're not streaming consistently or constantly at this point, I think, I think just doing it on YouTube, like you said, is just the right move right now. Real quick in the chat, Barb says, "Hey D, hey Cody, what's going on, Barb? Good to see you, my dear." Brenda says, "Derek, there's this movie
Barb.
called Unhinged. It's a good movie. I've not seen it. I will try to mark it down in the memory bank here right now and maybe check it out if I get a chance." Guys, I'm lucky. I got to be honest, because I know people always recommend movies, and I always feel super bad because I'm always like, "Oh yeah, I'll check it out. I'll check it out." I have good intentions, but the truth is, like, I don't think people, like, I'm not kidding when I say, like, me and my wife watch maybe one movie a month. Like one movie a month. Like, maybe.
I mean, that's pretty good though. One movie a month. That's more than me and my wife. I mean, we literally never watch movies, like, ever. And yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
but you're also creating a lot of content. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I think a
True.
lot of people that aren't always putting out content, they just don't, especially when you're working full time or family. So again, I think people get that, but I'm just saying overall, just FYI, that's why I don't end up watching a lot of the movie you guys recommend. I just don't have the time to watch them. So
Right.
just explaining it, I guess, for you guys. All right. With that said, let's go back to Prince's question, if you're okay with that,
Yep.
then.
Yep.
And
I'm
we'll
ready to dive in. Let's do it.
answer that. We're talking pandemic, COVID-19. I'll read the question again, just get it everybody's fresh mind. Prentice says, all right, so let me see if I word this correctly. Do you think the COVID pandemic is going to cause long-term psychological or mental problems in children and people who have been personally affected by it? Prentice says, I know it's random. I'm just very curious about your opinion. Let me just make sure I don't have nothing else here. Barb says, I mean, do you need someone to make you panels? Laughing my ass off. I think she's talking to you for Twitch. All right. But anyways.
Ooh.
So yeah, maybe hit up Barb. She does pretty good. But anyways, so to answer Princess's question, I'm going to let Codations go first.
Oh, geez. Of course you are. So do I feel that it can leave people or kids and stuff with, what was it? Psychological? Is that what it was?
Psychological or mental, issues.
Or mental issues.
It says kids or people personally affected by it.
Who have been personally affected. Yeah. Oh, and people who have been personally affected by it. I don't think that it would. I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be wrong because the truth of the matter is when it comes to, psychological problems and mental problems, I guess everybody kind of handles them differently, right? I mean, everybody kind of, yeah, I get what you're saying, like PTSD or anxiety, which again is something that everybody experiences differently, and it's very, very hard for people to, it's very hard for me to say that they will or will not have them, in my personal opinion. And that's because honestly, I don't understand either of those two things. Do you know what I mean? Like me and D, you've had to talk about this, my wife has anxiety, and one of my biggest struggles is I don't know enough about it. Do you know what I mean? So, like until I really, dive in, and learn as much as I can about it, to be able to offer her that kind of support, Like I just don't really know if I can say that people will actually have PTSD or anxiety. I definitely think that people might have PTSD if they had a really really bad like traumatic experience, like near death experience from COVID. Like obviously I would say sure, they probably could have PTSD from that. Or I would say, like, it could be really, it's going to be really, really hard on a lot of people. I think COVID's going to leave a mark on a lot of people for people who have lost somebody. You know what I mean? Who it might not necessarily, would have been, I guess it depends on what you believe in, but like, necessarily they wouldn't have died, that quick or that soon or whatever. If they didn't catch COVID or something, you know what I mean? So, I mean, like, I think that would be hard on people and kids, but I don't know. I mean, me personally, I don't know enough about PTSD or anxiety. That's kind of a more of a Derek question. I feel like in the sense of just understanding mental health.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with most of what you said, to be honest. I think you said it pretty well. I would even echo your sentiment that, I know I talk about anxiety and depression a bit. I would say personally, so to kind of preface what I'm about to say, I really don't think I've had much problems with anxiety myself. I do have anxiety sometimes, but my anxiety is a little different. My anxiety, I've come to really figure out. I didn't realize it at the beginning because I didn't realize how bad I had hurt my shoulder at the time. But I had never had anxiety until I hurt this shoulder. Then I think I had like trauma anxiety. And I think it comes
Okay.
on now mainly because this shoulder, I get very bad pain in the shoulder. Especially like after it, like it's one of the reasons I only stream 4 hours at a time because when I'm sitting here like this for hours, this shoulder flares up horribly, and it causes me a lot of pain. Like this shoulder causes me a lot of pain. Like I easily feel like I should be on some kind of pain medication from how much pain it causes me, but I just don't want to get addicted to that shit or anything like that. But I'm constantly, I would say 9 out of 10 of my days, I'm in pain throughout the entire day because of this shoulder. Um, and so when it gets real bad, when it gets real inflamed, I mean, sometimes my back has a big bulge, a big knot that you can actually see my back going like, you can't see it on camera really, but you can actually see it curve in my back, at least according to my wife. I can't really see my own back, but when she massages it for me sometimes, it gets that bad. So that's where my anxiety came from. Depression, I've experienced that in life. I've experienced that throughout the entirety of my life, bouts of depression.
Just
Yes,
two
I do
methods.
know that end. Just do
Sorry, I'm
method.
looking
Yeah,
at it
yeah, I
because
just
I'm
read
looking
it
at
too.
this
Princess says, "Don't take pain pills." Or no, alien ray gun. I thought it was Princess that said that. He said, "Don't take pain pills. That stuff is very addictive. Just do meth instead." Actually, what I'm hoping for, if I'm being completely honest, is for Ohio to legalize marijuana completely at some point. And I'll probably go back to that because that actually helped me out tremendously, to be completely honest. However, with kids and stuff and newborns and stuff, and just getting older, I've realized the risk is not worth it. So for now, I just deal with the shoulder pain and ibuprofen once in a while. Uh,
So let me. So
but
can I
anyways, with that
interject here?
said, oh, go ahead, Codations.
Yeah, yeah.
I was
So I
gonna.
want to ask you. So I want to ask you a question. What? Yeah, I mean, so what's the deal with the shoulder? What ended up did you do you have a time frame or what exactly happened? You can pinpoint.
Yeah, I can. Let me first though answer Prince's question, and then I'll answer that. So
Oh,
I'll
okay.
go from
Yeah,
that
sure.
into
Go
that,
ahead. Yeah,
just
no, go ahead.
so I don't forget.
Yep,
Um,
go ahead.
Princess says, "I think marijuana should be legal." I agree. I think all drugs should be legal personally, even meth and heroin. But that's just my personal. Not that I think everybody should do it, but I think it should all be legal. Uh, Alien says it seems like weed is going to be legal everywhere in the next few years. I agree. I know there's pushes in the actual federal government now to delist it and regulate it. So I agree 100% Alien. Yasuo says I've been playing Forager this entire time. Meant to say hi like 40 minutes ago. Well, hi Yasuo. All right. So in order to princess, so with all that said, like, because again, I just want to preface that I think my wife gets anxiety. That's more of I think the thought process of anxiety where you kind of get stuck in these looping thoughts and these self-destructive or self whatever thoughts. I have
Hmm.
those thoughts just like everybody where I sometimes beat myself up too much or whatever. Like I think the last podcast I was talking to Yasuo kind of about that. Like I have that too, but I don't struggle with it enough that I can't talk myself out of it. Like someone like sometimes, somebody that's dealing with major anxiety would. So again, prefacing that my anxiety I think is a little bit different than the typical one that I think Princess is referring to. But then with that said, I kind of agree with Codations a lot in the fact that number one, I think kids are super resilient. I don't think. I mean, they trauma definitely changes anybody and everybody. I mean, there's trauma in my own past life that I think has shaped me and scarred me and all that stuff. But overall, in terms of whether it's a huge lasting effect, I don't think it has to be. I think, like Codation says, there's just some people that, and I'm not saying it's their fault. I don't know. Maybe just the way their brain works, the way, biologically, all of that stuff. I don't think we know enough about it. Maybe they just can't be like me or Codations per se, where we can kind of talk ourselves out of that anxiety when it comes on. So they deal with that stronger. But I would say the people I'd be more worried about would be just children or family members that lost someone because of COVID. But again, that's not really a COVID thing. I think anybody that loses someone, that's a hugely traumatic
Right.
event and could cause those things. So, do I
Right.
think it's necessarily COVID that's causing it? No, it's probably the death of a family member. If, your dad's 50 and dies of a heart attack, it's probably going to affect you a lot too. If your dad, there's 40-year-olds that die of heart attacks or whatever, that's probably going to affect the kid just as much as them dying from COVID. I guess I'm saying, especially with kids, I don't think there's a difference. I don't think they're going to understand COVID took my dad versus a heart attack took my dad. They're just going to experience the trauma of loss of their dad or mom. I'm just using an example of dad.
Right. They're just going to experience the fact that they lost their parent in 2020. I mean,
Right. And
I
I
don't
know
know if
plenty
they
of
would be more
adults that
focused on
lost
what
their
took them.
kids. I mean, I knew a lady that was 40 something years old that was still very, very, I mean, lost her dad. I mean, her dad had been dead for 20 years and it was still something that she struggled with daily on a daily basis. And to me, like I'm, just being like to me, that's crazy. I don't get that. With that said, I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm just saying my brain doesn't get that. But I have seen people that have struggled with that. So I would say
Mhm.
absolutely people could be affected by it. Um, but again, I wouldn't say that it's because of the COVID. I would say it's more just because of the effects of the COVID. I don't think it's
Right.
any different than if someone died from a heart attack and somebody struggled with that with anxiety or depression afterwards, if that makes sense.
Right. No, nope. I would agree with that as well. I mean, I think death in general is hard for a lot of people, and also it's very, I don't want to say easy, but a lot of people have a better, in my opinion, a better relationship and understanding when it comes to death. You know what I mean? And with that being the case, they take it a little bit easier. And like you were saying, like with you, I absolutely think that's crazy. I've met some people, and there's one person in my family that is very much like that. My When my grandma passed away, my aunt, 100% to this day, she sees my grandma, or pictures of her. People talk about her, share anything about her, just instantly loses it. Like no matter where she's at, no matter what she's doing. And my grandma's been dead for so many years now. You know what I mean? It's very interesting to me that people still feel that same way. You know what I mean? Or they still get into those modes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's deep pain, like Princess says. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, I really do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm more of a kind of grieve, for a short, my short term griever. I grieve for a little bit, and then I kind of like accept the fact, that I still got to continue on with my life, you know what I mean? And still doing the things that I have to do, or that I want to achieve or whatever the case is, you know what I mean? And then I just move on. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly how to explain that, but I mean,
Yeah, I just yeah, I mean exactly, and I would say I'm very similar. But again, and that's not I don't think Codations is either, but that's not us discounting that person's pain it's just we don't necessarily feel that way.
mhm.
Which is just truth. I mean, I remember when my grandfather died. I mean, several of my sisters upset. I mean, I don't think I shed one tear. I was sad my grandfather died, but I like I I've always throughout my whole life, I will say, and I don't know, maybe codation is different, and I guess I'm just saying this to maybe explain why I am the way I am. But I mean, I grew up with a minister as a dad, and I grew up with religion a lot. So death was something I've known and thought about since I can remember. It's not a new concept. and it's become so ingrained. Like it's almost like I've made my peace, or I have an understanding that it's going to happen to everybody, including my parents, including myself, including my children.
Yep.
I've thought about it enough that it no longer. I don't want to say it doesn't scare me. I mean, I don't. I think everybody has
No,
a
you're not.
little bit
You're
of
not.
fear of
You're not.
death,
You're
but I'm
not.
not.
You're not.
I realize
Right.
it's inevitable. It's. There's
Correct.
no. I've come to the point where I just realize there's no, if I'm focusing on it and letting anxiety take over or depression take over, then I'm just limiting the amount of good days I can have left in my, like, because those things are inevitable. Bad shit's gonna happen. If it's not
Right.
COVID, if it's not, heart attacks, if it's not cancer, we cure those, there'll be something else. Just like we've done throughout all of humanity. There'll be some new super
Right.
bug. We make COVID vaccines, we're good for another 5, 10 years, something else will pop up. I guess
Yep.
I don't have the expectation that things are ever gonna be perfect. I don't have the expectations that all my days are gonna be good. So as long as these couple little check boxes, my wife's okay, my kids are okay, my parents are okay, as long as I have those, like we have enough food to eat, like as long as I have the basic check boxes covered, I'm pretty, you know, fine. I'm okay. Just because of where I've gotten in my life, that I just kind of accept what is, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense because I'm the exact same way. That's what I was going to dive into before, like when you jumped in. I think I've just came to the realization of accepting it. You mean just understanding? I've come to the understanding that, like you said, it's inevitable. Everybody has a life, span basically. Sometimes it's shorter than other people's. You never really know exactly, when a person is going to go or not go. And including yourself. So at the end of the day, like you said, I don't know. I feel like ever since I was a kid, I've just kind of understood that, and I've kind of like built that into my mentality, when it comes to different things, so like at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, it sucks that I can no longer, I don't know, hang out with that person. On a day-to-day basis, that I normally do or whatever, because, they're no longer physically here, for me to do that. But at the same time, I mentally, like you said, I mentally, accept that, understand that, and then I just continue trucking forward. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like, that's kind of the way that I've always looked at it and how I perceive it. you know I know it's different for everybody. Not everybody does it that way. Sometimes some people it's a lot harder, and like you said, or like Princess said, some people apparently never get over it. I don't know. And I know some people it overwhelms them. One of the things that is a big fear of mine, I'm not as scared of death whatsoever, but one of the biggest things that I am afraid of, is somebody like my wife. You know what I mean? Like my wife getting, even if we're 90 years old, you know what I mean? Like, my biggest fear is my wife dying before me. You know what I mean? And the reason being is because like I truly, you know, feel like that would blow. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be the biggest, like kicking the balls. You know what I mean? Like the fact that, like, the person who, you're here, and but what the crazy part is? I look at my grandpa. My grandpa's been married 3 times. All 3 of his wives have died on him.
Oh, jeez.
All 3 of them. Isn't that insane? Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the man still is super active. He's in his late 70s. He's still active. He's still, gets up every single day. He calls us, once or twice, every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? I'm talking to him. He's laughing. He's out doing stuff. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
We
yeah,
call that motive.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, princess. Yeah, princess. All 3 of them, man. So the one was like super early. He got married really, really early, like I think like 2021. And then and she ended up dying from cancer. And then the second one ended up dying with an aneurysm.
Cancer.
And then the third one was my grandma who took
Aneurysm.
what was it? COPD and emphysema took her because from being a hardcore smoker at 65. But I just think that's crazy, dude. I just think, like, how the hell can a person still go out, still get married, rinse and repeat the same process just to be torn to shit again? Like, I don't know, man. I don't think I could do it, dude. I really don't. I think it
Yeah.
would be tough.
I don't know, to be honest. I guess I'd have to be in the situation to decide, but I don't think it would be something I'd want to do as well. I feel like if I was like, over 60 and my spouse died, I'd just probably be single and have girlfriends the rest like
That's
just,
the way I look at it, dude. Yeah, at that point, I'd be like, look, I invested all this time into this other person. I absolutely miss them dearly, but it's like I'm not doing it again. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah, yeah.
I would instantly be like, look, we're just gonna just continue out the rest of the time. I'll get my needs met when I need my needs met. We'll do the deed. I'll call it good. We'll hang out, whatever we need, whether that's social time or whatever. You know what I mean? And then we'll just, go back to our separate lives. I don't know.
Princess says, laughing my ass off dating at 85. Listen, man, they still dated it. My
What
grandma,
do you think,
my
Princess? Why do you
grandpa
think they
died.
made Viagra?
Listen, it's just different. You're just thinking dating at 85. You're thinking your mind's going to sex right now, Princess, because you're young. Their mind's going to somebody to go to Cracker Barrel with.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's their dating at 85. They're like, oh, I need someone to go to Cracker Barrel with.
Yep.
Perkins. I don't know if you guys have those restaurants by you, but
We do. Yep. Perkins.
Yeah,
not only that, I mean, church. If they go to church, all the time they want somebody to sit with them at church. Somebody to go hang out with them to get coffee. Just anything, man. That's pretty much what it comes down to at 85.
yeah. Hokage says, I swear aneurysms are so crazy. It's like at any point you can just kneel over and die for no reason. Yeah, I had a friend,
Yep.
a girl. She's actually younger than me. I'm 36. At the time, I believe I was like 32, and she was probably 27, 28. And we were good friends, like best type friends. And she actually streamed on Twitch as well from my house. And she had streamed one night, went home that night, had an aneurysm at her house, and almost died. Like they had to cut open her brain and get it all. Like it was crazy. And then she was like
Yeah.
in like
That's
rehab for months. And I mean, she's good now, but yeah, I mean, 27 years old, had one, and almost
well. What's
completely was
crazy to
gone.
me? Well, what's
The only
crazy,
reason she
so
was still
aneurysms
alive
are
is because her
serious.
roommates found her like 10 minutes after it happened. They said if they didn't find her so fast, she would have been dead.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. Like the crazy part to me is not necessarily aneurysms, but the people who never know they have one. Like they go their entire life and don't even know they have one. Like that to me is crazy.
Yeah.
It's like how many doctor visits? I mean, you never did anything crazy. You never had to get a head scan. You never had to do anything. You know what I mean? Like in your lifetime. Like I think that's crazy. I'm like, how the hell did you go your entire life to whatever age? That you didn't even know that you had something like that. I don't know. I mean, maybe
Yep.
not. Maybe people don't do that stuff. I guess, but
Okage says it's freaking crazy, man. Prince says, a state representative died yesterday from an aneurysm. He was only 42. Yeah, I mean, I don't think people think about death enough personally. I mean, I really think that's why I really think, this is just out there. I don't even know if this is true. It's coming to my brain, so I'm going to say it. I really think, we all talk about like how, and I come from a very Republican Christian background. And one thing I always hear them throw out is like, this world's changing, and they always say it's because of lack of God, and all that. I really think the problems we have now with like school shootings, with like all these things and all this anxiety and stuff that we have, I really think it stems from the fact that we have so much stuff to occupy our time that people don't think about death enough. Because I really think when you don't think about death enough, I really think that can bring a lot of things, because you don't get to the point where you make it okay within yourself that it's a natural part of life. I don't know. Again, that's just kind of off the brain. I would have to flesh out exactly what I'm trying to say by that, but I think I guess in general what I'm saying is I don't think people have enough time to think as much anymore.
yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I think that's the reason why, like you said, I mean, I think that's the reason why when you go to like a funeral, right, or like when somebody close to you, like in family wise or friendship wise or whatever, actually does die, or somebody's life actually ends. I think that's the reason why you get the reactions that you do. You know what I mean? People are, dark, gloomy. I mean, they really do feel, sentimental, in that moment. They really do realize, like you said, right away in that moment, they realize like, holy cow, you know what I mean? Like, this is what death is, you know what I mean? And I think that, I like you said, and I think it's such a big shock to people in that moment that, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, people don't think about it, enough. You know what I mean? They go through their life just, out of sight, out of mind. You know what I mean? Like, oh nope, nothing's gonna happen to me. I'm not sick. Nobody else, all this stuff. Almost like they've got that untouchable mindset. I think most people, think that way. Death is out of sight, out of mind. They don't think about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
When in reality, I mean, it's true. I mean, or it's here. You know what I mean? It's a thing. You mean, it happens. You know what I mean? People move on, and you just gotta, I don't know. Like I said, the biggest thing for me, man, is just keep on trucking forward. Like that's what I try to coach people and tell people. Especially people who have dealt with somebody, dead or that has died. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
and
dude, like you got to live your life. You know what I mean? Like you got to keep on going.
yeah, and and I guess so. What's your response? Because I guess I'm pretty much that way as well. I do that a lot to people. I think I do that a lot in this stream. Sometimes I'm like, I should just learn to keep my mouth shut and just let people figure it out themselves or let people work through it themselves. So obviously what you're saying there, we're like keep trucking. Like you get people that kind of push back that like not everybody's built like that and can just push through it. Do you think that's true? Do you what would you I mean, what do you say when you get that pushback like that? I'm sure you've
I
gotten it
mean,
if you tell
oh yeah,
people.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. I mean, I guess like I'm being a little bit more blunt on the podcast. I guess I don't really just come out, and tell
Oh
them
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah. Right, right,
what,
right.
that's great. Just get the hell over it. Go to work tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
I
right.
mean, I guess it's more like I don't know. I mean, like if I was getting a little bit of pushback, or they were like, die hard set on, like oh my gosh, like I miss this person. I'm not gonna be able to do all this stuff. Blah blah blah. I think personally for me, I take the religious route. So at that point, you know what I mean? Like I kind of, I kind of hit a little bit of, bumps, like in the conversation, you know what I mean? And I kind of lean, I lean towards, to say like, okay, you know what I mean? Yeah, I get it, this person did, isn't going to be able to do this with you or, or whatever your plan was, or yeah, they always wanted to go to the beach or, whatever, but you know what I mean? I'm like, but they're in a better place now. You mean, they're no longer struggling or they're no longer, suffering. You know what I mean? Things like that. You know what I mean? Like the typical stuff. And then if it just keeps on getting to a certain point where they can't get a hold of it or understand it, or move on, then I take in my opinion, my personal beliefs, I take the religious route. You know what I mean? I'm like, look, you know what I mean? And I normally base it on the person. Obviously, if the person's not religious, you know what I mean? Then I probably wouldn't, you know what I mean? But most of the people, that I'm talking to in a situation like that I've dealt with in the past, they go to, there some sort of religion, So like I just kind of by saying, like, look, they moved on, to bigger and better things. You know what I mean? You can obviously, they're always going to be here with you. You know what I mean? Like, not only that, you can, now you got a guardian angel. You mean, also looking after you, you know what I mean? Hopefully, that they can, help you and direct you in a positive note. You mean, things like that. I kind of lead them down that path. But it also, again, like I said, it really just kind of depends on the person. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if it's somebody that I don't really have that emotional connection with, like a coworker or something, that I only talk to at work, here and there or something, then I'd be a little bit more late, a little bit more pulled back, to just kind of just be like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. You know what I mean? Like, they're in a better place now, blah, 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 you know what I mean? And just let it go. You know what I mean? Like versus really diving into it. I like how she just came out of the crack of the wood, like right in the dead center of us on stream. She just kind of peeks up around the corner. You should have her like come back and like just put in half her face. Like
Yeah,
just
for
looking
those that
around
might be
the
listening
piece
later,
of
my
wood.
daughter came in to say goodnight and like just kind of appeared from within the wood. Is
It
what
literally
today
looked
is.
like if she would just creep her head in, like I said, like right in between, like halfway, it would look like the piece of wood is like splitting her face, like she's looking around the corner.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, that's kind of like my answer. I know it's a roundabout answer, but like, I don't know. I
No,
mean,
I don't think.
it's
I mean, I asked, what do you normally do for against that pushback? I don't think it's a roundabout answer. That's if that's what you
right.
do, that's what you do. Hokage says, but then again, a lot of people think about death too much. Princess says that's not from God. That's from a lack of communication and understanding. That was to my earlier remark. Then she says funerals freak me out. I went to my great grandma's funeral and people were eating. I was like, what the fuck are we doing? Uh, yeah, I come again, religious background. We eat at funerals. We eat everywhere. If my family's doing anything, there's food. Princess like, then Princess says it's always good to have a listening ear, even if you don't understand the situation. Yeah, I would say my typical Well, and then Princess says, I have a problem when people pass and someone says, well, just pray about it. I know people mean well when they say that, but it can come off as dismissive and a quick solution. I would, but in defense of, I guess I would say, I don't want to say Christians because more than just Christians say, well, just pray about it. But I will say, in terms of religious people saying that, Princess, I, I do think, I don't think we do a good enough job as I say we, and I don't even know if I'd classify myself as a Christian. Uh, but I would say religious people, spiritual people, whether no matter what your religion is, I would argue if you're a Christian or a Buddhist or just someone that practices praying to the spaghetti god, um, I think the biggest problem that religious is we don't we get it's almost like a somebody that programs artificial intelligence trying to talk to someone about uh you know what that means for the futures of cars to somebody that has no idea anything about technology at all, like to my 80-year-old grandma. That would be like an AI person trying to talk. I think we forget that we've been raised with all of this knowledge that we've learned throughout years, especially those that have been in religious settings, spiritual settings most of their life. I think we forget the years and years and years of wisdom that we have collected over the years. And so when we're speaking, we say things like, well, just pray about it. In my case, I might use the word, well, maybe try meditation, because I believe they're really one. And I mean, I believe again, uh, uh, not to cause any disrespect of codations or anything, but my personal beliefs is that I believe most religions and most acts are one and the same. I think when somebody's meditating, they're doing exactly what a Christian's doing when they're praying, if they're praying correctly, which is that
Hmm.
you are uh, uh, sitting there making peace with God. You're talking to, whether you call God, whether you're a Christian and
Right.
you almost believe in him of that image as a man in a white robe that you're talking to and trying to whatever. If
Right.
it's more that you're a whatever and you're trying to do that with what you call the universe, or if you're like myself and you're more, that other voice in your head, whatever you kind of want to call that, it doesn't matter to me. But I think we forget to try, like, and it's not that we forget, but it's hard for us to try to explain. Like when someone says, "Oh, pray about it," they're saying that because they have good intentions in their heart. This is why I'm going to all this. Their intentions are good. It's because they realize there's literally nothing I can do to help you through this trauma, but I know one thing that can. And insert God, universe, mother nature, whatever, that
Right.
connection they've made with something on a higher level, that they know that's the thing that can help you. I can't help you. But again, that's hard to explain, especially with so many different religions and with so many of us, including myself, that get caught up in our own terminology of those ideas, I'll call them. Um, and so I think it falls on the other side as well, that I think too many people have a negative connotation towards religion, especially Christianity nowadays, that we don't take the time to try to understand. I kind of referring to a comment you said earlier, Princess, in that I think a listening ear is always the best approach, trying to understand what the person's saying, whether you agree with their particular whatever. I think you'll always find benefit out of that, um,
Right.
if that makes sense. And whether you understand what they're saying or not, I just think it'll put you in a better position. I don't know if that made
Right.
sense, what I was trying to say. Catching up
I think it
on
did.
okay, catching up on chat real quick. Princess says, or Yasuo says, I'm Italian. How could I not praise the holy spaghetti god? I agree with you 100%, dude. Praise him up. Princess says, oh, yes, def agree. Princess says, connecting with the universe. Yas says, this is deep. You know how we do. I don't, it's me. Codation's over here like, God damn it, I just want to talk about video games and technology. And Derek's always going off on this. You guys bring up the questions, I answer them. I don't know. Unknown 7 Able says, hello, unknown. Yeah, says LOL. Prince says, Universe God, your creator, flying spaghetti monster. Yeah. And I'm not even saying, when I say all this, just this is kind of me talking to Codations here. When I say all this around what I say, because again, I know, I mean, from knowing Codation, it sounds like he's Christian, believes in Christianity, Jesus, God. I'm assuming. Maybe I'm wrong. You can correct me. So when I say this, I'm not even saying they have it wrong. I just don't believe anybody knows who has it right. So I try to
Right.
take if I can take something from Christianity and apply it to my life and it helps me, I'm going to do that. If I can take something from Buddhism and it helps me in my life, I'm going to do that. Uh, I'm just more of under the belief of that, whether you believe Christian or whatever, when Jesus came, died on the cross, forgave sins, he says they know not what they do when he was dying on the cross because they were crucifying him. I just believe Jesus is more of the type of person and God. I don't believe in the Old Testament God as much as the New Testament, in that I think he understands that as a human, there's no way we could know 100% what religion is correct. And again, I think all religion has negative connotations and all religions have positive. And I just think it's not that you're picking or choosing in terms of morals, as a lot of Christians like to kind of throw out there, like, oh, you can't pick and choose the Bible. It's not that you're trying to pick and choose the Bible or from any religion. Again, I'm only using Christianity because that's my background. It's just that you realize if you don't get caught up in words and doctrine, I think at the end everybody arrives at the same place, which is the real God, the God. I'll use the word God here just to stress my point. I think I think if you don't worry about all the vernacular and all of that, I think if you actually just focus on finding God, you'll find him. I don't think any of the terminology matters. Personally, that's just my belief in it. Unknown says people have strong belief in their faith. I agree. He also says astrology. No, that's horse shit. No, just if it helps you, it helps you. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Bridget says, I saw someone on Twitter talking about this band called Flyleaf, the same band I used to listen to when I was depressed. I never knew it was a Christian rock band. Yeah, I love Flyleaf. I've been to a lot of their concerts. I have stuff signed by them. I actually love Flyleaf, or did. I don't listen to as much Christian stuff nowadays. But she says, so I saw a thread of people talking bad about it just because it was a Christian band, and I just thought, why does it matter? That music helped me get through a rough time, and I had no idea it was a Christian rock band. That doesn't take away from it helped me through a rough time. That's what I'm saying. Too many people get too many. If you attack Christianity, Christianity can no longer help you. If you attack Buddhism, Buddhism can no longer help you. If you attack astrology, astrology can no longer help you. I just think you can learn stuff that can help you from good stuff. If you want to have the faith of Christianity or any other religion, that's great. But take those things and apply. A lot of times you can find that in Christianity as well, and apply it and all that. I don't know. I said a lot. Codations, if you want the mic at all to rebuke anything I said, to give your thoughts, feel free to take it.
So I don't know. So I'm kind of in the same boat. So like, I think I mentioned this maybe it was on a podcast, maybe it was one of your live streams one time, but so my situation is a little bit different. Yeah, currently right now, I'm affiliated with the Catholicism. So, Christianity and Catholicism, Catholic, for those of you that are listening and don't know what Catholicism means. So the whole premise behind this is, when I met my wife, all growing up, I was in and out of multiple churches, just a bunch of different churches. I wasn't, in your situation, D, where you actually, wasn't your father a pastor?
Yeah, my dad's a minister.
Yeah. So with that being the case, it wasn't like that. It was just, we honestly, to be quite, is it frank? Yeah. Be frank with you. Yeah, I think. Yep. Anyways, whatever. A lot of it was my. Are you Irish? Yes, I have a really, really big portion of Irish in my blood, princess. But basically, so my mom would use churches a lot, growing up, because for their help and their aid. Right. So like with her raising 3 kids, on her own as a single mom, which is tough. She would, we would naturally gravitate to churches, because, around holidays, they would definitely, sponsor our family, to like the Advent tree or, things like that. They definitely sponsor us, around holidays, Christmas, that kind of sort of thing. Anyways, I'm getting off subject, but long story short, I was in and out of a lot of different churches. So from like, Baptist to Southern Baptist, Methodist, some of your Protestant stuff. I got a little bit into like Lutheran, but not a whole lot. And then I got into like just non-denominational churches, more like I don't even know what you call these kind, but more of like a like band churches. Does that make sense? Like they're not really like they don't really like read scripture, so to speak, like word for word. It's more of like you kind of show up and it's like a concert, you kind of just show up and you enjoy music and like praise and worship basically is kind of what the entire like portion of their church is. And so like that I've been in part of those as well. So I mean, I don't know, like it's one of those things where I kind of manifest, like you said, Derek. I kind of manifest my own beliefs on religion, and those beliefs were based upon my experiences. I mean, how I felt about, how passionate I felt about certain things. I mean, horrible things, that happened in churches, that I had heard about or known about, you know what I mean? That, obviously there was facts behind it, that I didn't agree with. A lot of like judgingness and everything that went on in a lot of churches that we were a part of at certain times. Just basically a lot of information and a lot of things that I kind of have just built up this idea and concept of like what you're saying. At the end of the day, I don't believe that no matter what religion you believe in, no matter what even people who don't believe in a so-called religion, I think that everybody has morals, or they have karma, and they have good feelings and bad feelings about stuff, right, in their actions. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like if people are making good choices, like as far as like for the better, right, like whether that's to help other people, whether that's whatever it is, I mean, like I'm a firm believer in like it doesn't matter at the end of the day, as long as you pass away or you die or whatever, and when you die, you're going to end up in a good place. You mean, in general, based on, the good things that you do in your life. I mean, like in how you make sure that, you're being a good person in general. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to understand, but like I've kind of built that mindset up that I'm not really affiliated. I don't really affiliate myself with any other type of religion or like, any specific religion as more so as I do, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, as long as you're being a good person, as long as you're doing those things, you know what I mean? Like whatever thing you believe in, obviously then that's what you believe in, I don't know. I mean, and the reason why, to kind of sum it back up, the reason why I am officially Catholic now, is honestly because when we had our son, so he's 7 months now, almost 8 months, on the 15th of January. But the biggest thing for me was growing up in a church, in my opinion, was very, very good. And what I mean by that is because it did help me establish right from wrong, right? It did help me establish some sort of morals, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like I feel the way that I do against certain things or something that are technically bad for us, right? Or bad for you or whatever. I think a lot of that was driven because, from my, church studies, what I mean, as growing up, in and out of different churches and stuff, talking to individual people, learning from, some of those Sunday school teachers, some of these people, what I mean, that I think really did a good job, on manifesting, like I said, my morals. I guess morals is the best word that I can put it in. But the things that I live by, what I mean, like, the codes, the things that I feel like are right, and not wrong, or, whatever. I think a lot of that was manifest from those early ages in church, in and out of church, and because of that, me and, my wife is a hardcore, churchgoer ever since she was a kid. You know what I mean? Like her family, they're super close knit family. That's what they've always done all growing up. That's just part of their lifestyle. So when we got married, we had a conversation on that. And when we got married, I was agnostic. I did not think that there was enough information to prove that God exists. And I did not think that there was enough information to prove that he didn't exist. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I still to this day struggle with that. I mean, I still struggle with that. Like, but what I'm trying to say is, for my son, I didn't want to be one of those families, you know what I mean, where, and again, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, somebody listening to this podcast, maybe they're judging hardcore and they think it's, total BS and I shouldn't have done this. But I didn't want my son to grow up with a family where him and my wife and his mom were going to church together and I was at the house. Does that make sense? Do you mean, and I didn't want that. You mean, I didn't want that experience. I knew friends, who had that experience, where the dad never went with them. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Or their mom never went with them, you know what I mean? Or whatever, or they went to two separate things. You know what I mean? And I just didn't really want that. So I actually went through what they call RCIA classes, because I told my wife that if I was going to join, Catholicism or Catholic, I want to know more about it. You know what I mean? So I actually took a 6-month class, a weekly class. We met on Thursday evenings. So after work, we would meet at around 6 o'clock. And there was like 7 of us in the class. We talked to multiple deacons, multiple, fathers is what they call them, or preachers, basically. You know what I mean? And pretty much just did a whole study session for 6 months. You know what I mean? And I learned everything about the religion, that there is not that there is to know. Obviously, I'm not a walking, Catholicism encyclopedia, but I basically asked loads of crazy questions. I mean, like, why can't deacons do this? Or why can't, these pastors marry, women? You know what I mean? Do you guys, worship Mary? I pretty much asked them every single thing under the book. You know what I mean? And I mean, they were just showing me all this information. They were giving me really good resources. They were saying, if you want to know more about this, you can read more about this, and all of it. I felt good with my decision, you know what I mean, to join, the Catholic Church, with my wife, and then, baptize my son, in that same realm. You know what I mean? And not just because of that 6 months, 6 months of, studying and meeting, once a week. And I gave it my honest opinion, I gave it, everything I had, to make sure, I wasn't just showing up and being like, oh yeah, this sounds great. Yeah, 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 yeah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was actually actively participating for 6 months. And again, it fit for me. It's not for everybody. You know what I mean? And like I said, and do I think that it's changed my outlook on religion since doing that? Some. That's the best way I can explain it. And the reason why I say that is because the big thing that I struggle with is faith. And the wife knows it. We talk about it periodically, but the biggest thing for me is faith. I struggle with the unknown. I struggle with the you're believing in something that you don't know exists, because there's no physical way to show you that it exists. Do you know what I mean? So you just have to have faith, blind faith. I mean, you have to have, you're believing in something that you can't see, you can't touch. You know what I'm saying? And I find that hard. Hard to believe. But a really good counter argument is love. I mean, you can love somebody, do you know what I mean? But yet you can't really physically touch it. You know what I mean? But it exists. You feel for somebody. I guess the difference is with that, though, is you can actually see them. So I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of all over the place, with it. And I think that's kind of where I'm at, so I'm labeled a Catholic right now. I like the Catholic faith when it comes to history and the structure behind the religion and where they get their information. But for the most part of my life, I've been agnostic, where I just didn't believe that there was enough information or facts on both sides, that says, yeah, there's somebody there. No, there's somebody not there, so I don't know.
Makes sense.
It's kind of my personal opinion. I know it's hard. It's a hard thing to come back on when it comes to content, or, you know what I mean? Like talking about this stuff, because everybody's so different.
Yeah.
Catch up on chat, though. It looks like
we'll catch up on chat, and then I got a couple thoughts to go over. Princess says, I asked if you were Catholic or Irish because a lot of Irish heritage are Catholic. I was just curious. Then she said, Southern Baptist, were you dancing in the church? Laughed my ass off. I love those types of churches. I don't know if he was or not. He can answer that. But my religion, specifically Christianity, background is Pentecostal. Or as a lot of other Christian churches like to call us, holy rollers. We were the hoot and holler and speaking in other tongues, believe that you could lay hands on people and they be healed. We were all that stuff. We were the crazy running around the church screaming with like our heads cut off like chickens. That is 100% the type of background I come from. Hokage says, did you have a Catholic marriage, this is Codations, or did you start identifying with the church after you had your kid?
So I started identifying with the church after I had my child. And me and the wife got married in 2017. But in the Catholic religion, I don't know how many years ago, but they actually made it to where you can get married in the Catholic Church and not be Catholic. and there's no, or at least in the diocese is what they call it, like in this general area, you don't have to. You basically, I had to fill out paperwork, and me and the wife had to go to like marriage counseling classes prior to getting married. That basically just, explains a lot of the, hey, this is what, you should do or you shouldn't do, based on the Catholic religion, that kind of stuff. And then, I mean, and I think that was only like, I don't know, a couple months or something like that, once a week or whatever, that we had to attend these classes. And you didn't have to attend them. You can obviously take the easy way out, and you can do like a test online. You know what I mean? And I believe it was, I mean, that obviously would have been super easy, but because, me and the wife wanted to know more, we were curious and, actually wanted to get something, value out of this stuff, you know what I mean? To getting married, then yeah, we went through some of those things, and then they allowed me to get married in the Catholic Church without being, a Catholic. So
So it was a Catholic marriage, though, like
correct.
the how it okay. Yeah, it says this second monitor already making use of itself. I can grind out this game while having you guys on the side. Yo, appreciate that, man. We appreciate all the views. It helps us out a lot. Prentice says, "Yep, love transcends time." Hokage says, "I feel like most, if not all, belief systems are based on an unprovable facts, though. The only thing that is certain is uncertainty itself." Good point. Prentice says, "Pentecostal is very stern, right?" Yes, very, very stern. Prentice says, "That's beautiful codations." Um, yes, I agree. Also, I loved hearing that backstory of you codations. Was super, super, super cool. Um, I will say just a couple thoughts to kind of add to yours. And I don't want to call
Yep.
them arguments to your points.
No,
Just kind of my thoughts on them.
yep. No,
But
no
one
worries.
is I don't think faith is as hard as people think that it is, especially in Christianity. I personally think, and I guess this is more saying like I just trying to encourage you. I think most people that struggle with faith, it's because they may not necessarily believe exactly how their religion tells them to believe, and so they think that they don't have faith. But I would argue that if you believe in a God, uh, you know, in terms of just that you believe that I guess what I'm saying is I don't really think I would argue that 99 even though like there's lots of people out there that claim to be atheists, there's lots of people out there that claim to be agnostic. I would think if people actually had an understanding of God, again, I'm using that word just as a placer word, so don't get
Yeah,
wrapped
yeah,
around that
yeah.
term God. But I think if
Nope, I
most
got
people
you.
had the understanding of God, and the not thinking of him as a person like in a robe, but actually as the thing, um, I don't think as many people would struggle to believe in God, to be completely honest. I think he's pretty self-evident in anything and everything, that exists on this earth. I think there's actually plenty of evidence, um, now it's mostly personal anecdotal, or I don't know if anecdotal is the right word, but it's more personal, understanding, than what can be proved, like, scientifically, but I think if anybody actually was, searching, for God, and again, I'm using that term loosely, so don't just, and I mean this more for in chat, don't assume I'm talking about the Christian God,
Right. No,
again,
I get
but
you.
I think that, that more people would actually believe in it pretty easily, to be completely honest. I mean, I don't think people take the time to think about the world that we live in. I mean, guys, it's fucking crazy that I could call Codations from 5 states away on a device that somehow captures my voice, turns it into takes the airwaves that my mouth is producing, takes it into a form, and then a magnet turns it into an electrical form that then can travel then outside of electrical current that can then be transmitted via waveforms through the air to a cell phone tower that can then route this to his and then reverse all of that, on Codation's end. I mean, people like if you don't think that magic is real, I mean, like what is? I mean, what the like what the fuck do you think magic is? If someone could like say to you, like, "Hey, you can transmit your voice from here to 5 states over in real time," meaning that as the words are coming out of my mouth, the other person can hear me. Like, I don't think we understand what the fuck we have on this planet. Like, what the like,
Right.
and if you don't think that there's some kind of force, but like, even if you say, "Oh, we came from single cell organisms," like, okay, that original thought that was like, "Oh, I wanna become more than a single cell organism." That thought that, like, every human innately has to, "I wanna create better in this world. I want to create." And when I say every human, I mean, I don't know the exceptions. I'm not bought on the fact of whether some people are actually born without a conscience or if that's, the whole nature versus nurture stuff. I tend to think that most people that do horrible things in life are doing horrible things not because they were born that way, but there's some people that argue the other way. So again, I'm taking that into effect. But again, it's crazy to me. And again, I think if you just, I mean, the way that the whole world, and if you say like, oh, that's just luck, the Big Bang just happened and it caused this initial, like, okay, that I'm not arguing any of that. But what I am arguing is still none that, like, okay, call that God. Just call,
Right.
like, in your mind, instead of thinking of God as this guy that's standing that looks like me or Codations in a white robe. Princess says, but what was before the Big Bang? Th- well, and that's where I think Christianity gets it. Before everything, there was God, and that's what I'm saying. It's to me that's God. That God is that. God is that. What was before the Big Bang? What was like what this thing that started there was nothing and decided that there needed to be something.
Morgan Freeman.
Like that's just to me, like, again, not in a human form. I think we get too stuck in a human form. But I think when you start looking at it like that, you're almost like, well, duh, God has to exist. And again, I'm using God as the placeholder term. Maybe your religion calls, it's the spaghetti God monster. Cool. Like, but that thing that and I don't even want to say thing because I don't know that it's a thing, but that thing that none of us knows, that thing that existed well before any of us, that existed well before the universe, well before the, like, that thing. You start thinking
Right.
that God and start then looking at how the world has come together and all, it's just it's crazy to me. Like, to how people can believe that there is nothing. It just doesn't make
Right.
sense to me, I guess, personally. That's just personal preference, I guess, or whatever you want to say it, personal belief. Prince says, my dad comes from a Pentecostal background too. And then she says, science can't prove everything. I agree. I mean, I think people get stuck on science too. I don't think science contradicts religion. I don't think science contradicts God. All science does is looks at data and then says, and keeps testing stuff until they figure out what's right and what's not right. I don't think it actually gets rid of God at all, personally. But again, that's just personal belief. Princess says, yep, and you live on a planet that spins on the exact right tilt of an axis at the exact distance from a sun that heats us and causes. And again, you can say that's all just happenings and whatever. Uh, but I would argue what in the very beginning decided when there was nothing that there should have been something. I don't know. That's always my thought of it. Princess says, explain it to someone from the 1500s, they'll think that's witchcraft. Talking about the cell phones. Exactly. Like, we have new, I mean, the fact that we have a discourse, I mean, social media, I mean, I know, like, the current meta is to dog on social media because it does have harms, just like everything does, just like a cell phone has harms, I'm sure. I think it adds, yeah, I just think it, but yeah, exactly. I'm convinced that it's all magic. It's all magic. And again, I'm using the term magic as a placeholder for it's crazy ass shit. Princess says, I'm convinced
Yeah,
God
I
looks like
think.
Morgan Freeman. I'm just catch up a chat real quick and then totally
Oh
agree,
yeah, yeah.
Derek.
No, you're good.
Yas says he's not a monster. I know the spaghetti guy's not a monster. He saved humanity. Kage says this conversation feels like it should be much more toxic for some reason. That's when I think when you're really talking about God, there is no toxicity. I'm not disagreeing with anybody else. There's again, I'll say this one thing and then I'm gonna pass to Codations because he's sitting there so
Yep. No,
patiently. I'm
you're good.
like going on a rambling storm here. But like my
Dude,
favorite
you're all right. No
scripture from
worries.
the Christian Bible, my favorite is Paul. Paul used to be called Saul in the Bible. Saul ran around, murdered a bunch of Christians, got converted on a horse on a way to Damascus, became Paul. Paul's whole thing after all the I mean, one of the closest guys to Jesus, one of the best, and yet his thing was not follow his thing was work out your own salvation. And we look at that as like him saying, like, oh, work out how to get saved. Because again, that's the words we like in Christianity. But what Paul's saying is figure out what gets you closer to Placeholder, God. Don't listen to anybody else. Don't do what anybody else tells you. Don't worry about what anybody says that you got wrong and don't worry about what anybody says you got right. Just worry about your relationship with placeholder, God. Everything else works out. I'm certain of it, beyond certain. Codations can be like, you're wrong. Princess can be like, you're wrong. I'm certain because I've worked out my own salvation. Nobody else can tell me. I've worked it out. And I think that's what Paul was alluding when he gets there. All right. With that
Right.
said, Princess says, hey, you reminded me of a question. Then she said, Saul, was he on a tricycle? I have no fucking clue. LOL placeholder.
What?
I don't even know what that question. She's like, Saul, question mark, was he on a tricycle? Oh, Saul, Saul. And no, he was on a horse. I think you're thinking of the movie Saw, where he was on the little tricycle, that little killer thing. All right, but anyways,
Oh,
codations.
you said Saul. I just put that together. The guy with the freaking
Me
mask.
too. I didn't think either. I'm like, what?
Oh, that's funny.
I don't
That's
know, but that's my
hilarious.
mini rant on placeholder God.
I mean, the sad part is I don't really have a whole lot to say on this topic, just because I mean, like, I don't really know. I mean, again, I mean, I go back to what I was saying, I don't really know a whole lot about it, and I guess this kind of leads me into a little bit of like how we talk about politics sometimes, and I
Mhm.
just don't have enough research or knowledge, background to it, for me to actually add in some value, and like that's kind of where I'm at with it, so I'm just going to echo you and say that, I totally agree with the fact that, everybody makes their own salvation, and then at the end of the day, it pretty much just comes down to you doing whatever you see best for yourself. You know what I mean? And I am a firm believer, I guess, at one side thing I could add to that is that I don't think that anybody else is responsible for anybody else's salvation. You know what I mean? Like, I think not your parents, you know what I mean? Not your wife, not your kids. I don't think anybody else is responsible, you know what I mean, like, for that. You know what I mean? And so it baffles me sometimes when I've heard, horror stories, where like parents are trying to, impose, this onto their kids. You know what I mean? I don't know if Derek, if that's kind of like how, if you've ever had this struggle with your dad, maybe, I don't know, you know what I mean? But some parents, they try to impose, something or force something on them, and then maybe they don't feel the same way or whatever. And I think that that's definitely something that, I don't know. In my opinion, I think is wrong. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, no matter what God you believe in, unless if there's something that I don't know, but I'm almost positive, you know what I mean? That nobody believes in, that you're gonna die or whatever, and then you're gonna be speaking to some sort of God, and then he's going to be like, oh, you didn't make your husband, convert over to whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I, it's, everybody's responsible for their own. So I think that, like, if everybody would just, focus on their own stuff like that, then, it would be what it is. You know what I mean? Like, then you just move on, and they'll figure out what they need to figure out.
Yeah. And yeah, I would echo that as well.
Yeah.
I think most people, I think anybody that's all they're doing is trying to tell you what you're doing wrong. They're not adding any value to you. And I would echo so far as to say, turn around and run as far as you can from that person and cut them out of your life and never talk to them again, because
Right.
they're doing way more harm to you than any good. I think anybody actually trying to do good, not towards you, but let's say, people that claim, oh, God wants us to share his word, or I think anybody that's trying to do good in any of those aspects uh is going to be careful and thoughtful with how they talk to you, is not going to try to demean you or knock questions you have, uh but will be open and honest in those. As Codation says, when he took the Catholic classes, how they answered his questions, they showed him what they believed. They said, if you have more questions, here's resources to look at. They didn't say, well, this is what we believe. This is what you have to believe if you want to be Christian, Catholic.
Right.
I mean, they might apply that. So like, this is our beliefs. You should, you probably, as a person coming to Catholicism, you probably should agree or believe most of what we believe, or else you probably be better off finding a different religion. Like, they might have that type of an
Right.
attitude. But they're just trying to be open and honest with you.
Right.
That's the type
It's
of
not
people
like
you
your
want to
dad.
find.
Right. It's not like your dad, being, what did you say, Pentecostal. It's not like your dad, throwing that down your throat and then you coming to him at some point in your life and you're just like, yeah, I don't really believe that anymore. I've changed my beliefs, do you know what I mean? For whatever reason, and then him coming back to you, and being like, oh, well, we don't own you as a kid anymore, as our child anymore. But you know what I'm saying? Like we disown you or whatever they say, and treating you that way because you don't have that same beliefs, or whatever that they feel like that you should. Or some people actually truly believe, that for whatever reason another person, is like going to hell, or like, damned, or whatever, if they don't believe what that same person believes, and I've heard horror, like I said, I've known horror stories, with like real actual parents versus their kids. Do you mean, stuff like don't talk to them, don't see them, all that stuff, just because that they don't, that child changed their opinion, as they got older, you know what I mean? And that I don't agree with. 100%. I definitely feel like everybody is individually responsible for their own salvation, you know what I mean? So it is what it is, they should do what they want to do, or what they believe in, and move on, you know what I mean? You should not be, like you said, focused on, trying to convert that other person to the point where it's preventing you, from focusing on yourself. That's kind of the way that I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think anytime it crosses that line, again, just echoing what you're saying, I just think I don't think they're then displaying the love and compassion and stuff that the religion says they should be spreading. I
Right.
believe that they're only. I don't know why people do it. To be honest, I don't know. I don't know why people feel they have to do it. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add to that point. Just other than, like I said, if there's anybody in anybody's life that's doing that, if it's your parents and you can't get away from it, you know, I would argue just making your peace and doing your best till you can get out of your parents' house. If it's someone else, I would say that you can cut out of your life, cut them out of your life. They're not worth it. Be quick with the blade. Cut them out. Don't be afraid to cut people out of your life. We have this fear that if we cut people out of our life, we'll be all alone and lonely and have no one. But the truth is, you'll find plenty of people that are not toxic people, and your life will
Oh
be
yeah.
way better.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, so Princess. All right, so yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of wrapping up the religion talk. Princess is asking a different question. Maybe we'll do this one, and then when we finish up this one, we'll. I don't know how late you're wanting to be on tonight. You didn't tell me this week, but we could start wrapping up.
I'm good. I'm good with after this one, and
Okay.
whatever we want to jump into, Lou, we can close up for the night if you're cool with that.
Okay. Princess says you don't have to answer this one. We're going to probably because I think it's a good question. Princess says, "Do you?" So again, we're switching topics now. Religion. Did you have anything else you wanted to say before we switch topics? I just always like to make sure.
Nope.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, I
not
think we
not not
both pretty
really.
much said what we think. So, all right. She says, "Do you think social media helps promote dangerous conspiracy theories? For example, the Nashville bomber mailed letters to people he knew that talked about conspiracy theories such as lizard people and secret societies. I'm just wondering, do you think social media is a factor in that? And how do you think it'll affect us in the future?" Also, I am Karen says, "What's up? What's up? I am Karen."
Can't run. What is
Kodesh,
going on?
you want to take this one first too, or
Yeah, sure, sure. All right. So first of all, one thing, Princess, that I want to say here is mailing letters is not social media. But
I
I do
didn't
get
even
where you're
pick that
going with
up, but
this.
that is true.
But I do get where you're going with this. So, all right. So there's a huge big battle right now when it comes to social media, right? Because you have a lot of people currently that they are riding this campaign of social media is a negative space. It's a negative, what I mean, like, entity, I guess, or whatever, and because we as humans or us as a society has access to social media for whatever reason, we are experiencing or creating massive problems, or like basically uh I guess what am I wording with the wording that I'm looking for here? You're accessing this thing called social media, and then this so-called social media is allowing to manifest problems. In my opinion, I don't look at it that way. Maybe I'm a little bit biased to this topic just because I actually work in social media all the time. Um, I look at social media as a tool. Just like, there's guns. And I look at the weapon or the gun as a tool. You know what I mean? Not necessarily, the reason for, the issue. And that's kind of the same thing the way I treat social media. I think social media is a great, absolutely wonderful tool, if you use it that way. You know what I mean? Like, whether that's for companies and jobs and stuff, or whether that's for actual, seeing your family members. I mean, like, what better way, to have a platform that you can actually throw stuff on, like you were talking about earlier, D, with the phone thing, that you can see and stay up to date with all of your family. You know what I mean? Whoever you add to that. I think social media has very, very good uses. I personally think, just like a lot of other things, when it comes to tools, I think a lot of, people and just in general have started to utilize tools like social media, you know what I mean, to then reach more people, for their insanity. I guess is the best way that I can put it. I don't mean insanity as far as like, like so far, like you should be like, like in a, asylum, but I'm talking about insanity as in like whatever they're struggling with or whatever they're dealing with. You know what I mean? Like if they're, I think social media is just a tool that people are utilizing to get in front of a lot more people. You know what I mean? To either be heard for, social rights, to be heard for civil rights, to be heard for, a cry for help, because they want to kill people or they want to kill themselves. You know what I mean? Or or they just want to hit a larger audience to make to create drama. That's my personal opinion on it. I don't think that social media is the negative source, as far as of what's causing the negativity, or the bad things happening. Like, for instance, this Nashville bomber. Okay, so yeah, sure, he might have reached out to some social people or some social groups or social platforms, something like that, and they helped spread the word about this guy, or they helped talk about this guy or make him popular. Whatever happened, might be the case, but I don't think that social media is making it worse or better based upon that. I think literally it's just a bigger voice that people are utilizing, and whether you utilize it for good or you utilize it for bad. And I, again, dabbling a little bit back into the political side of things and government side of things, I don't think that there's a perfect balance, to be honest with you. Part of my mind, sometimes a person could argue and say, I feel like the government should help, regulate things on the internet, including social media, to prevent, some of that crazy, negativity, stuff. That stems a lot of bad, shit. But at the same time, you know what I mean? Like, I also don't want the government, controlling, people, stuff in individual people's lives. Do you know what I mean? Because, that infringes on a lot of other types of freedoms, other types of things, so I don't think there's a perfect balance realistically. I really don't. You know what I mean? I personally think that when it comes to social media, it's going to be all in how a person decides to use that social media for positive or positivity or negativity. That's kind of the way that I look at it. I personally don't think that that's, I don't think that that's making a difference, I guess is what I want to say. So again, I guess I'm not part of the conspiracy theory stuff.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense.
So what's your
Uh,
take on it, D?
very similar to yours. Most of the time it seems like besides maybe some nuances, we're very similar in our thought process. I'm coming to realize. I always feel like I'm always trying to think of like the other side, to kind of add some back and forth between us, maybe, or to flesh out your thoughts. But a lot of times I'm like, no, that's fucking it. But I will add, I guess, a couple things on my side. Um, I agree with codations quite a bit. Again, I hope that doesn't make for a boring podcast, but it's the truth. Um, the truth is, I think social media is a tool. I think it's a tool just like anything. You could argue, like, does it help spread conspiracy theories? Absolutely, it does. I'm sure. Why? Because it's more information, but it also helps spread a lot of good information faster than we've ever been able to. I mean, you can make that argument again. I'm going to hold up my cell phone. You could terrorists use cell phones to call and make plans against with other terrorists. I mean, anything that we create that aids in the spread of information or the connectedness of humans is also going to aid not just in the positive results of that, but in the negative results of that. It's not social media that's the problem, it's humans. Like, there's just
Right.
some good humans and there's some bad humans. There's humans that are going to use the tools for good and there's humans that are going to use the tools for bad. There's gonna be people that just simply spread conspiracy theories. They don't even believe them themselves, but they just like trolling people. Like, that exists. There's also gonna be people that actually do believe the shit. That's gonna exist. Um,
Right.
I don't think we ever fix that. Now, I will say that I personally believe whatever gives more information out to people is the best way to fix that. I don't think we can ever completely fix it, but I think the access to more information is better than the access to limited information. Only because I think when we try to push a lot of these things underground, where then it's not talked about in public discourse, that's how people get trapped in this stuff. Whereas where there's when these people aren't being, and I will say, and that's what I was gonna say. So I think that, but I do think we do have a problem with algorithms a bit. But again, it's not a problem with algorithms, it's a problem with humans that are creating the algorithms. Because we do have algorithms set up where their main point of the algorithm is to keep you on that social media platform, whichever social media platform it is, for as long as possible. If they can keep you on by recommending you conspiracy theories, conspiracy theory groups where you can then talk with other conspiracy, and you're not getting any of the other information out there because this algorithm is only serving you that information. I do believe that's a problem we have in algorithms. Um, I don't think that makes social media bad. I don't think that makes algorithms bad. I just think it's something that we have to course correct. I'll use that word there. I like that word there. I think we just need to make course corrections as we go. Like, are there negative things about social media? Are there negative things about algorithms? Absolutely. But the answer is not to get rid of them. The answer is to course correct, to line them up better with our values as a humanity or as humans as a whole, to use the tools more effectively. There's always going to be hiccups. Our job is not to expect that we're going to create this perfect system, but to just continually be willing to course correct as we go. And if we have that attitude, I just think social media gets better. For example, in the last 2-3 years, the whole algorithm thing, the whole debate, the whole documentary that just came out on Netflix called The Social Dilemma, that's all bringing that information to people, that you're starting to see people, just like you're asking the question in the chat, you now see people asking these questions. As more and more of us ask these questions, as more and more of us start to understand these things, then as humanity as a whole, we're going to course correct for those things. So I actually don't look at it as a negative, but just like with everything in life, we're just constantly improving our tools. We're just constantly improving how we do things. So I don't know if that answers the questions or not. Um, but yeah, I just think we think everything's supposed to be perfect, but we forget that us ourselves are not perfect, and we expect, like, how could this guy believe in a conspiracy theory? There's probably some weird conspiracy out there you believe in, and I don't mean you, but I just mean, like, I would argue that if you believe that essential oils are actually doing anything for us, you're a crackhead. That's just my personal. I believe you're following a conspiracy theory. If you
Right.
actually think
I would have
inject,
backed that up.
because a lot of the science out there shows that, especially people that are ingesting a lot of these essential oils, um, that it is not good for you. At least that's what the science so far tells us, which again is just like algorithms. It's tests that we're constantly doing to try to find the best outcomes. It's almost like, as humanity, we're like all these little ants and we're all just doing all these little split tests with all this stuff and saying, is this a little bit better? Is this a little bit better? Oh, that's a little bit worse. Course correct. Is this a little bit better? Is this a little bit better? Oh, that took us down the wrong path. Course correct. But I think people forget that. We forget that, like, we're all fucking really dumb and we're just trying to make good choices. Like, I think the best thing humanity can do is realize that ourselves as the individual are responsible for ourselves. Ourselves as the individual is just as dumb as every other person out there. We're not as smart as we think we are compared to most everybody else. And even if that's incorrect and you're smarter than 98% of the population, I think just having that mentality is the best way to have. I don't know. Does that if that makes sense or not, or if that answered your question exactly? But
I think that was pretty good.
Hokage says, but then the problem is, how do we fight over who decides what course we take? I actually think we're heading towards anarchy, but that's a discussion for another time, maybe. I think we're very much heading towards the government going away. Not, I think we'll still have programs in government in the sense of like programs that help humanity as a whole. But I think as a world as a whole, we're going to eventually do away with we're gonna have to give freedom to more personal choices and letting people live their lives how they want to live it, because I think people are realizing that if we don't, it's just going to lead to civil war after civil war after civil war after civil war. And I think people are going to wise up enough to realize like we don't have to fucking do that. But I don't know.
Right.
That's a whole nother. And when
I
I
think
say anarchy, I didn't mean it in the sense of like burn shit down and the whole world go to. I just mean I don't think I just mean in terms of lack of government. I mean we already are at that point now. A lot of it like with let's take you know, and I this is not my idea. I heard this in a podcast just to be completely, but it was a really good point. Uh, in this whole issue of mass versus no mass, you know, a lot of people like think the other side is completely bonkers, and they think it's a right versus left issue. And I heard a guy say it's not a right versus left issue; it's a risk averse versus risk willing type mentality of people. And you're just going to have that. That's not going to change. Like, there's going to be some people that are not as willing to face a disease that has a 2 or 3 or whatever. I don't know the percentage, but let's just say for the hell of it, a 10% kill rate. There's still going to be people in this world that they're like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to die anyways. I just want to live my life. Like that's so, and so are we going to keep leading to civil war after civil war? Just like, you know, our civil war, you know, people that believe slaves, no slaves. I think we have to find ways. And again, this is not my idea, but to succeed from each other in what's the word? Amicable ways, more than
right.
we're going to need actual government. We're going to have to learn to, um, I don't know. Again, that's not all, that's not entirely my idea. That stuff still I'm working through personally, but I just do think that it's a very good argument that we're heading more towards an anarchist style world, not complete anarchist, but lack of government intervening in individual personal responsibility choices,
Yep.
if that
Yep.
makes
And I would,
sense.
yeah, and I would echo that. I think the same thing. I mean, just think, rules and regulations are getting, super, super, lax, dropping some of that stern, and create, stuff behind it. I mean, officers are getting super lax, on a lot of stuff that they are actually, physically enforcing, bringing, people back to stuff and arresting people. I mean, there's just so many things across the board. We're legalizing weed, legalizing, drugs. And guns. We haven't had any new gun laws in a long time. Like I just think that it's yeah. I mean, I would agree with you. I mean, I think that eventually that's kind of what we're moving towards. We're moving towards less government. Like what was the whole big thing like 2020, like the privacy issue. I mean, for all these social platforms, all these websites, of people collecting data on you. You know what I mean? Like why do they need this data? Do we have a right to our data? Can we say no to not collecting our data but still enjoy these products? You know what I mean? Things like that. I just think yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. I think we are going to hit a time, in social media or anything. I mean, I think we're going to hit a time where, yeah, I mean, as a society, we're going to push for less government. I really do. I think that's just going to be the only way it's going to have to go, because eventually what's going to happen is if they continue pushing, like you said, yeah, I mean, a war is going to break out. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, it's going to be physical war. It's going to be digital war. It's going to be, pretty much everything. And I think at that point, I mean, it's not going to be good for anybody,
Yeah, I mean,
So I think.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was just going to finish that up by saying, so yeah, I mean, I personally agree with you in the sense by saying that, yeah, I think it's just going to continue to progress down the line of government not acting in individual lives.
Yeah, and people making individual choices. You know, again, I'm not saying that that's going to answer everything, and I'm not even saying that that is exactly what's going to happen. We could have another civil war. I mean, that could happen. We could have more, but I just think we're at a place in technology and time, you know, 2021, that like everybody has nukes. Everybody, you know, at least enough of the people that matter have nukes in the world, enough governments, that I mean, it's almost hard for us to have a war at this point, really. I mean, because what we just all nuke each other, and then all of humanity's gone, and that's a win-win for nobody. So it's almost like because of technology, we're gonna have to learn to concede to people, or it's gonna have to completely be like cyber base, which is what we've been seeing the last couple years with elections. And if people don't
Yeah.
think America, you know, we get mad Russia's in our elections and China, we do it to their elections. Like, let's just be clear about that real quick. Like, I mean,
Yep.
so maybe it stays digital for a while, but I just think that we're at it. I don't think we can do another like our civil wars before where it's boots on the ground civil war. And I think with technology and it being like drones dropping bombs and planes and all this shit, we all would just destroy each other. So I really think that it just I don't see any other option where humanity wins. And I'm just hoping enough people see that. And again, you know, maybe people start making communities, maybe like maybe more tight knit communities. It's funny because even on social media, you're seeing this. People are leaving like being on Twitter all the time, being on, and they're like Facebook. But most people don't realize this, but like Facebook groups where you're like have exploded compared to anything else on Facebook. Uh, Apps like Clubhouse, where it's a couple people talking about, you know, are becoming a big thing. A lot of these apps that are based around Discord in the last 2 years, not just for gaming, has exploded where it's real more tight-knit
Everything.
communities. You know, and I really think it's gonna continue heading that way, where it's gonna be like, and even as we do become more digital creatures, you know, we've talked about VR and stuff before, me and Codations on this
Yep.
podcast. Even I think when I've been streaming, me and Codations have talked about it before off of the podcast. But like, you know, as the world goes more and more digital and we're spending more and more time on that, I just think I just don't see any other option personally. I don't know. So that's yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Catch up on chat and then we'll give any closing thoughts we may have. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add on that or not. Prentice says, yes, very well explained from you both. Thank you. And then she says, laugh my ass off, Derek. So blunt, laugh my fucking ass off. That's a great point. I don't know what that, I forget what that was too, but probably where I said anarchy. Hokage says, but the government itself is supposed to be a program that helps humanity. Again, I think we'll still have things that help humanity. I think we'll have like universal health care at some point. We'll have things like that that are funded by people. But I will say it might become like opt-in, opt-out programs where it's like if you want to be a part of this program, you choose to be a part of this program. And if you don't, you don't. But then, you know, if you're dying, you might just fucking die. Bridget says humans are weird. Why does there always have to be sides? There's always a right or wrong side, but both are neither right or wrong. Morals. It all has to do with morals, what we believe is right or wrong. Unknown says the Walking Dead way. Well, I'm hoping we don't go to zombies and shit, dude. Fritz says, I don't think people like feeling controlled. It starts to feel like you're a caged animal. Yeah, and I think both sides experience that. Prince says, I'm too delicate for war. I think most of us are. She says, I'll be in my room watching a live stream of it and sipping hot cocoa. Live streaming the Civil War. Oh my God. How 2021 is that? Brenda says, "Oh yeah, that's a great point. Digital wars instead of physical fightings. It's country destroying other countries' economy. We already see that. We're in an economy war with China right now. People don't. We've pretty much lost the number one spot. We're trying to hang on to it by the skin of our teeth, but we've already been destroyed that way. Bitcoin for the win. 33,000. It's up to today. It hit 33,000 per Bitcoin.
It's ridiculous,
He
dude. That
also
is
says another banger for the
insane.
charts. Princesses laugh my ass off. Please no zombies. Isn't that insane, dude?
Dude, that's crazy, dude. That increase is ridiculous for freaking Bitcoin, man. I remember, what was it at when we were first ever talking about Bitcoin, like back on like a couple of your live streams before the podcast. I believe we were at, what was it, 16?
I think it was getting close to 18,000 again because that was the previous record high, and that's when I started vocally. I mean, I've been in Bitcoin for a long time. And I don't say, I guess I do kind of say that to small flex. I don't know. I was going to say that's not a flex, but I guess it was a little bit because I don't know why else I'd mention it. But my point being is
I
that
get your point.
I've been in it before the previous high. So that, you know, and I kind of got quiet about it just because there's haters out there that don't believe in Bitcoin. Maybe some in the stream, maybe you don't believe in it. I don't know. Which I don't
It's not
have
that I
any
don't.
problem with
It's not
that.
that I don't believe in it, but you already
Y-
know my stance on it. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
enough about it.
yep. And I think there's still a lot of people out there like that. But I'm just totally bought in. But I just at the time when it dropped, everybody's like, "Oh, it's crashing now." It dropped down to all the way from 18,000 to 4,000. I'm like, okay, just wait, just wait. And I've just been sitting back patiently. And then when it got close to that 18,000 again, that was when I was like, "Hey guys, it's getting back to 18,000." Because
Yeah.
I'm either gonna go with it or I'm gonna burn with it. That's where I'm at with it. So,
Yeah. No, that's understandable. Completely
but anyways,
understandable.
but yeah. Any closing thoughts? Codations as we end the live stream. Chad, if you got any
Not that
closing thoughts, feel free to say them real quick.
Not that I know of. I mean, the only thing I would like to say is, is obviously thank you for having me on here. As always, I know that I might not be as super talkative tonight, but that is honestly because I am absolutely like tired as balls, dude. I have been up since 5 this morning and I've been remodeling. I hung sheetrock all day long, dude. So I am just absolutely pooped. So I mean, that's like I said. So I do apologize if my personality hasn't been as hype as it normally is, just because I'm super exhausted. But
Personally, just to kind of but personally, I like more of this chill vibe on where we're just kind of chit chatting and whatever. I don't know, like so. But I will say, I thought you talked plenty. I thought you were a talkative little motherfucker. So
perfect, perfect. Well, shit, I can keep on going. Let's just keep on going for another five
no, but
hours.
but in all seriousness, I thought it was fine. I if you are
Cool.
tired, I get some sleep, get rested up. But I thought it
Oh
was
yeah.
another banger in the bags, personally.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean the other really cool part about tonight that I'm actually excited about to see what we get on it for feedback and stuff. But um I like the topics. I mean, we haven't really covered these topics before, you know what I mean? So I mean, I do like the fact that the topics are completely different than what is our norm. And then not only that, it also kind of like diversifies, our content. We're not always talking about YouTube and
Yep,
gaming, you
yep.
know what I mean? We're diving a little bit into other stuff. So
Yeah. So the key takeaway is, Princess, it is your job into the future to always bring us the questions. You're our topic creator for the podcast.
yep. Congratulations. We need a pop up like right here on the screen, like Princess presses a button on her end, boom, throws up a topic into the stream.
Right.
It's just like, oh shit, D, we gotta stop talking. Wrap it up. Next topic. Abortion next week. See you guys.
No. There's some topics I just don't feel like getting into.
Yeah. I'm just joking, but you
I am
get the
too.
point.
I'd gladly talk about abortion. I don't give a fuck. No. Talk about anything. That's my problem. I'll talk about anything.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh yeah, for sure.
Hokage says,
Sure.
reminds me of
But,
that one Cyberpunk stream where we were talking about tech in the afterlife. Yes, I agree. That was with Codations as well, I think.
yep.
So
Princess says, and you're canceled.
Princess bringing in the tough topics, getting us canceled. Yas says, I know I
Dude.
wasn't chatty this one, was too focused on this game the entire time, but thanks for feeding my brain. Yas, well, thank you guys. Seriously, I don't, I feel like I'm a broken record because I'm always like, thank you guys, thank you guys, thank you guys. But I really do mean it. You guys let me do something that I love doing. So I can't, I seriously, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I always, I'm a lovey-dovey mushy guy. I don't care. I love you guys. I thank you guys always, forever. Anything and everything you support of mine, anything, everything. Princess, I'm so happy that you've been supporting Codations because I just think it's amazing that this community as a whole is just supporting the other creators that come into this community, and we're all just kind of growing and learning with each other. And I really fucking love it, man. So just, thank you guys seriously from the bottom of my heart. Anybody out there in the universe watching, Codation is about to plug his shit. Make sure you check him out. Before he does, I'll plug my shit. If you want to find me anywhere on the interwebs, the best place, one of these days, Codation is going to be saying the same thing. I know it. One day he's going to get a goddamn website set up. If you want to find me on any of the
have a
social
website
medias,
set up.
does it have links to all of your socials and everything?
Fuck
Yeah,
no.
yeah, exactly.
It's got codations.com. Go there right now. Give me all of the information that I need to update on my damn page.
If you go to my website, you will find links to every single one of my social medias, my YouTube, my Twitch channel, my Twitter, where I'm most active, all of that. OMGitsDerek.com. OMGitsDerek.com. For Codations, we'll let him actually plug where you can find him here today and not once he actually gets his shit updated. Go ahead, Codations.
That's just going to be youtube.com/codations. I mean, that's going to be the biggest one. I do have a Discord community as well. You can find that link below in any of the description of my videos that I have posted. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm on Twitter. I'm not active on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm not active on Facebook. I've got a website. You can join at the website at codations.com. And I'm pretty sure I have like 3 pages and the other half of it is template text. As well. And I'm pretty sure it's like plumbing text or whatever, because I used a website template builder instead of my own. So I do graphic design over there, and I'm part plumber, apparently, according to Squarespace. So anyways, but that's going to be my information. Like I said, if you want to stay up to date with all the mobile games, I play a lot of mobile games, feature a lot of guides, tutorials, summoning videos, that kind of sort of thing. If that is your niche, then you can head over to, like I said, youtube.com/codation. So
all right. Thank you very much, Codations, as always. And guys, anybody listening to this, go harass him on his YouTube channel. Comment on his videos and tell him to get his damn website set up. Even if it's just a picture with links to where you can be found on the internet. Make him get that shit set up. He needs it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. All right. Until next time, love you guys. Later, nerds.
See you later.